Around this time last year, I managed to land a full-time role as a junior art director at a creative agency that was at the top of my list, so I essentially landed my dream job right after graduating. Now, the process was no easy task though, and there was a lot of obstacles and things that I wish I knew sooner. So whether you're in college, you're about to graduate, or you're a self-taught designer looking for your first full-time job as a corporate creative, I'm going to share some tips on how I did it and things you should keep in mind. To give some more context, I went to college to study visual communication and graduated in December of 2020. And shortly after graduating, I began to apply for a bunch of jobs. So the first step that I have is that you want to make sure you have a solid design portfolio before you even start applying, because portfolios and your resume are the first things employers will look at. And if you don't have either of those things, then you are not ready to start applying. You want to make sure that you've built up enough experience and have the necessary skill sets in order to work for a company. The design portfolio can either be a digital PDF or an online website, but essentially you want to make it easy for people to find you and your work. A tip here for your design portfolio is to only include your best works, so don't just throw everything you've ever done in your portfolio. You want to curate it to only your best ones and things that you want to do more of. I also recommend having an about section that explains a little bit about who you are, and you want to make sure that your resume highlights your skill sets and prior experience. So if you don't have a design portfolio or resume yet, I would recommend putting some time aside to really work on those things, because that is the most essential part before you start applying to anything. Step number 2 is to start applying for jobs. So once you have your design portfolio ready and a resume, it's time to start searching. So a good place to start is by doing a Google search of creative jobs in your area that are niche specific to the role that you're looking for. So whether you want to be kind of more generalized graphic designer, UI UX designer, packaging designer, production design, whatever your case is, you want to do a Google search of that, and you'll see that a lot of job hunting websites will pop up. Some of them that I know that I have used in the past is Indeed, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Monster, and Startwire, which is where I applied for the job that I have now. But that's just to name a few. So I highly recommend LinkedIn because you can connect with recruiters and creative professionals on there, so it is essentially a social media website, but also job hunting website where recruiters and creative professionals are always looking to hire. Sometimes they'll even reach out to you about a job opportunity. So it's a really great platform. I highly recommend that you actually just make a profile and just start connecting with recruiters and other creatives in your area. That's going to increase your chances of finding a job and getting more warmer leads versus applying on a job website. So this step will also require a little bit of soul searching on your part to see what kind of creative role you want to work as, what kind of company you want to work for, and really just evaluate your skill sets to see if you have what it takes in order to fill in the role. In this job hunting phase, it's also totally normal for companies to reject and even ghost you. But I try not to take those personally, because it really never is personal if you think about it. Their job as recruiters and creative professionals is to try to find the best candidates to fit on their role that will get along with the team and really fit in with the company. It's very stressful on their part because they've got to sift through hundreds of applications, go on a bunch of interviews, talk to a bunch of people, and kind of determine as a team, does this person align with the company and will they fit in? I applied for a handful of places. A lot of them ghosted and rejected me as well. And I don't take them personally because I know it's not personal. So depending on what company you're applying for, the interview process can either be super quick or really long. Either way, it's a daunting process as you're kind of on the receiving end waiting to hear back from them. So as you're kind of in the waiting phase of hearing back from a company, you still want to be proactive with applying to other companies as well, because you really don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So if that company goes to rejects you, you have others kind of lined up and you can follow up with them. If a company that you really want to work for hasn't reached back out to you like 1 to 2 weeks after you've applied, don't be afraid to send a follow-up message or email kind of asking about the status, because a lot of times companies are swamped with applications And it's a good thing if you follow up because it kind of floats you back up to their inbox and keeps you at the top of their mind. And it also shows that you're really eager about the position. Don't send them multiple messages and spam them though, because that's probably going to rule you out as being that annoying candidate who's too desperate. So step number 3 is to prepare for the interview. As you apply to more places, you're eventually going to hear back from a company that wants to move forward with the interview process, which is great news. Now it's time to start preparing for the interview. Be sure to also practice your answers to interview questions by writing them down and speaking them out loud. What I've realized for a handful of the interviews I have been on is that these interviews are not supposed to be super formal, but rather a little bit more casual and conversational. So treat it as if you're talking with a well-respected friend, because the creative industry in general is a little bit more laid back. Here are some interview questions that I was asked that they'll most likely ask you as well. Number 1 is, tell me about yourself. This one is pretty standard for every interview, but this is your chance to kind of brag about yourself. So you can highlight some things like design awards you've won, any cool opportunities you've gotten to do, and talk about like what makes you stand out. Question number 2, they'll probably ask what made you interested in applying for our company. Obviously money, but you don't want to just say that. You want to highlight some things that you really like about their company, such as the type of work that they do, their company values, company culture, things like that. Question number 3, what's been your favorite project to work on and why? This is a kind of a question for them to get to know you better and your kind of design style. So they want to see you talk about what you enjoy and see if it aligns with the type of work that they do as well. Number 4, how do you feel about collaborating with a team? More often than not, you're going to be working with a lot of different types of people, so they want to make sure that you're a good people person and can collaborate with others well. And question number 5, tell me about a time you overcame an obstacle at work. Be prepared to think of a scenario where you had a difficult problem to solve and what solution you came up for it. They want to see that you're not just another creative or designer, but that you're a creative problem solver as well. At the end of the interview, they'll ask if you have any questions. Always try to ask some sort of question, whether it's about the company, the interviewer, or any concerns that you have. So if you can imagine being an interviewer, you're asking other people questions all day, and that can be very draining. So by asking them questions, kind of flipping it back around, it changes the dynamic of the conversation in a small way, but it can make a big impact and help end the interview on a high note. Now there's mainly only 3 scenarios that happen after the interview. They say that you're hired for the job, which is great news, so congratulations if you land the role. Scenario number 2 is that they say that they decide to move forward with another candidate. In that case, thank them for their time and continue to apply to other places and keep your head up. Scenario number 3 is that you don't hear back at all. In that case, again, follow up 1 to 2 weeks after the interview. Also realize that timing and luck also play a factor in determining if you land the role or not. If you don't land the role, it's not the end of the world, it's okay. You can take this time to kind of evaluate your skills and see what you can improve on in order to be a better candidate for the next position you apply for. There are plenty of more opportunities for you out there to seize as long as you're proactive with your search and continually working on your skill set so that you're one step closer to getting the job that you want. I think that about wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. If you did enjoy it, leave me a thumbs up and a comment down below. Let me know you made it to the end by commenting a cookie emoji somewhere, because who doesn't love a good chocolate chip cookie?